There's a special documentation used against CS gas because 20 kids have died from the use of CS gas. It's only to be used outdoors in a riot-controlled situation, and it's expressly harmful to young women, to women and young children with smaller respiratory tracts. It will kill them. Anybody that knows anything about CS gas knows this, and yet she said that this was a harmless form of gas that she could find. It's a lie.
Now, you talked about the Oklahoma bombing 2 weeks in advance.
Right.
And the day before this went off, you were talking about...
Specifically that a federal building would be attacked.
Specifically, the day before.
Right, and the day of, I specifically stated there were 3 devices inside the building and there was no Ryder truck out front.
And would you tell America just how many members of the press you told us to, and how many of those actually published it?
I have copied this to every major news media in this country and outside of this country. And I haven't talked to anyone, and I've certainly not been contacted by anyone from the government.
You talked to them, but they
haven't printed.
They haven't talked to you. They have no calls, no callbacks.
No. In fact, the Washington Post, Serge Kovaleski, who's been maligning the militia and everyone else, said to me, "I have no problem with your credibility. I just can't print your story."
We take a look at the, one of the most recent murders, or at least I call them murders, or Arkansas's, Ron Brown. Do you think that there's any way that that plane went down accidentally?
I personally don't. I know that the jury's still out. In fact, his widow, from what I understand, is not accepting the verdict of the government, or the assumption of the government that the plane was in an accident. So she is challenging it, and I mean, if you believe everything that at least you and I have heard about the fact that the tail section was in one piece, and that parts of the plane fell in the ocean, and supposedly one person came out of the flight, got on the helicopter and died of a massive blood loss. So there seems to be some questions to be answered on that too. There's many questions, Anthony, as you know, that you and I, as kind of investigative reporter type talk show hosts, are dealing with on these issues, and it does keep us very busy.
But having witnessed his relationship with the Central Intelligence Agency, at that point it was very apparent to me that Bill Clinton would cut any kind of a deal with anyone under any conditions if it advanced his power base.
Should Clinton be impeached for high treason?
At minimum, I think Clinton should resign. Hillary's been indicted over the Whitewater issue, and that's still not apparently very public knowledge. And I think he will be pressured to resign rather than have her indictment unveiled.
Now, Webb Hubbell is out of jail to act as this credible witness in the Waco whitewash hearings. And everybody believed it. And nobody even talked about Vince Foster being Arkansided or murdered. They didn't talk about that. It was a presumption of suicide. I mean, can anybody with a logical, rational mind accept what they are simply stating as fact when it's actually fiction?
I don't think any reasonable person would follow that. And forensically, there's no evidence other than a murder in the Foster murder. There is no suicide evidence at all.
And the Oklahoma bombing? Who did it?
Our government employees pulled a whole operation off. There were some special ops people out of a base in Alabama that actually planted the devices. They were at the direction of a team of people headed by Robert Getzman.
Who threatened to kill you? And
if I talked about that. And concurrent with that, the senior people from the Air Force that supervised the project that Getzman and I and the others reported on to Gunter Air Force Base, the National Network Surveillance Project, the head of the Air Force Technology Acquisition Team, he and his assistant were on the downed Lear craft that was bombed and taken down days before the Oklahoma City bombing.
Now, we are in deep kimchi. This is not hell, but you can see it from here.
There's nothing wrong with your set. But there is something that is drastically wrong when over 100 people who've threatened to expose or embarrass the president have met with sudden and violent death. This man must be exposed for who he is and what he's doing, or there will be devastating consequences. Taken off guard, leaving just one of the many Ron Brown eulogies used to milk the black vote, this double-talking demagogue is caught laughing until he spots the camera. He instantly starts to shed crocodile tears. The transition takes less than 2 seconds. At one moment, he's seen shaking Jesse Jackson's hand. The next, he's referring to him as that dumb nigger.
All of a sudden, in the middle of the night, there's a loud knock on your door. Hey, honey, something's not right.
Throw out your arms. Clinton's gun law passed through. We're here from the government. We're here to help you.
And I'm from the IRS with the power to tax. If you've got a complaint, send us a fax.
Get out of this house. Surrender your guns.